Welcome to Bonehead.
We. Now I gotta pee. I just rhymed. Oh my God.
This is for Glenn. We've been watching Bluey, which I'm pretty sure is a documentary about how Australian parents abuse their children. And it's a cartoon. It's made in Australia, and they don't have bathrooms in Australia where you can just go up to. So a lot of times these dogs have to go do a bush wee. And now my kid walks outside to do a bush wee. So thank you, Australian Glenn and whomever is listening.
Supposedly it keeps the deers away.
Well, I have had no deer, Chad. So in the middle of the city.
If I learned nothing else from Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, that's true.
To Glenn in Australia, deer are kangaroos with horns.
Okay, that uncomfortable pause.
Chad, let's
talk about movies to TV.
Yeah, so that's the topic of today's shows, movies that turn into TV shows. And honestly, I was sitting here at home watching Ash versus Evil Dead, which I don't know. Well, I guess we'll talk about how you guys feel about it. I don't know if James has seen it. I loved it. It was the right amount of comedy.
Seen it. I own them.
I own it too.
I own it on Netflix. It is the right. I just loved it.
I own it on Netflix.
Yep. I need all them features.
Shut up, Joe.
Isn't that what we just talked about the previous episodes?
I hadn't bought it, but now that I loved it so much, I probably will end up buying the series.
I mean, it's
DVD.
Bruce Campbell.
It is, yeah. And I never got around to watching it, but as I burned through it in like the span of a week and a half, the second to last episode of the series, I was like, we need to talk about this, because I started thinking of all these different movies that have been turned into TV shows. And as Joe and I agree, most of them are awful.
We'll talk
but there was so many. And then when we agreed we were going to do this, I did research and I was blown away, because initially I was going to do what I normally do and just put together the list of the shows that I know. But I'm like, maybe I should look more into this. And I looked into it, and oh my God, there's just so many.
Yep.
And none of them are good.
Well, and even, okay, so
a few are good.
I'll correct you
a few, and I'm going to talk about some of the few that I like. Yeah, but they're overwhelmingly, James, no. And there's some that are absolutely shocking.
I'm going to correct you a little bit. So we just got to talk just a minute before this. It's not, let me rephrase. Most of them do suck. The issue is that even the ones that are good, or at least ran for quite a while, they're very successful, aren't necessarily shows I like. For example, Parenthood. I like the movie, love the movie. I've never watched more than 10 minutes of any episode. I don't give two shits to watch it. It's just not in my wheelhouse.
So yeah,
it may be amazing, and I don't give a care.
And don't get me wrong, I haven't watched an episode of Parenthood, but it's mostly a drama. The comedy elements are taken out of it. Am I right? It's basically It's kind of like a saccharine soap opera.
Let me give you another example of a movie I loved was Friday Night Lights, Peter Berg's Friday Night Lights. I think it's his best film by far. Nothing comes close to it.
Battleship.
Yeah. Like I said, it's his best film by far. Nothing comes close to it. To my knowledge, I haven't watched all the Mark Wahlberg movies. Honestly, 2 or 3 of them past that, I just can't take.
Can I honestly correct you? Because is me. I was joking about Battleship. I do want to disagree, because I really love The Rundown.
The Rundown's fun. It is. It's a fun movie, but his best film is Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
And I just say that's the best one. That being said, I've never watched one episode of Friday Night Lights. I doubt that I ever will.
Yeah, I won't either.
So
I'm sorry.
Why? I'm a film geek. Why? And these two people shot from Stardom, Connie blah blah blah, and the dude from King Kong. They shot Godzilla. I can never remember their names. They shot the Stardom from the show, right? Why have I never watched it?
I don't know. And the problem is, and this is in the few cases where this is not, and I'm going to go into the ones where this is not true. I have a hard time getting into TV shows where they turn the characters, they've basically broke down the characters so much that they're just a fragment of what they were in the movie. And they've lost all appeal, all character appeal. The things that made them great are not in the TV shows. And that's why I have a hard time.
When you said appeal, I was thinking of Weird Al lyrics. You gotta admit it. They gotta
They got
peel.
to peel. Potatoes.
Sorry.
And, I gotta, and to lead away into this, I gotta talk about the most and by the way, I'm going to talk about a few shocking ones, but I gotta talk about the most shocking example of a movie being turned into a TV show. Are you guys aware that in 1983, for 5 episodes, Casablanca was a TV show?
Yep.
Not only in 1983, Chad, it was made into a television series twice. It was also made into a television series in 1955.
Which isn't actually on the list I looked at because there's over 100. I have over 100.
Which actually, so there's 2 separate series. One was in 1955, one was in 1983, which means by the theory that eventually the third time's the charm, it's 2021. That means we need to do one this year. That would be 28 years between each attempt.
Can I give you all the one that shocked me? Casablanca.
Well, go ahead. And then I want to talk about Casablanca a little more because I want to talk about the cast of that TV show.
and the Bean got a series 5 years after the movie.
I did not know Freebie and the Bean got a TV show.
Freebie and the Bean. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen fragments of it. I think I may have actually watched all of it on Turner Classic Movies Finding at one time. It's a buddy cop movie with Alan Arkin and James Caan. I mean, what could go wrong? It's not bad. I'm just saying, who greenlit that series?
Holy God. Okay, so let's talk about this because this is Joe, you just accidentally connected our 2 conversations.
Okay.
The star of Freebie and the Bean, the TV show, and Casablanca, the TV show, won Hector Elizondo. Hector Elizondo.
I'm not trying to be stereotyped or whatever. I'm assuming he played the Bean.
Hector Elizondo was Captain Louis Renault.
Yeah.
In Casablanca, the TV show. And he was Sergeant Dan Bean Delgado.
Told you.
And Freebie was Tom Mason.
On the nose. And poor Hector Elizondo not only gave us Leviathan, but all those shitty Gary Marshall films as well.
But do you know who took over Humphrey Bogart's character in the Casablanca TV show from the 80s?
I don't remember.
James, do you?
No, I know who did it in 1955, but I do not remember.
Tell me in 1955 and I'll give you 1983.
Well, obviously, you've got Humphrey Bogart, classic man of screen, and you're going to port that over to the television series. It's the 1950s. Who are you going for? Obviously, you're getting Charles McGraw. Charles McGraw. Charles McGraw?
No, I really thought for the first 2 times you said it, I thought you were saying McGruff the crime dog.
No, Charles McGraw was born. His actual birth name. Are you ready for this? Because I want to change my name to Chuck. His actual birth name. I want to change my name to because he died in 1980, so it shouldn't be an issue. He was born Crisp Butters. His name was Crisp Butters. He was known before he did the show, as having roles in Tonight We Raid Calais. I don't know. They Came to Blow Up America, 2 Tickets to London, Destroyer, Corvette K225, The Mad Ghoul, The Imposter, The Seventh Cross, Roses Are Red, The Gangster, T-Men, Once More My Darling. Any of these ringing a bell?
No.
The Story of Molly X.
I think you're good, James.
Yeah, so
Roadblock?
Okay. So who played Rick in the 1983 version?
Please be John Candy.
One Hutch, David Soul.
David Soul
played Rick.
All right, for you people who don't know who David Soul is, Starsky and Hutch. I know you said Hutch, but I wanted to say, I knew him. I never watched Starsky and Hutch. You know, the dude from Salem's Lot.
The dude from Salem's
Lot. Because I'm a jacked up kid. That's literally, I've seen that so many more times than I have any episode of Starsky and Hutch.
I want to get, and then we'll move on to another TV shows, but I do want to briefly talk about 2 amazing casting from 1983's Casablanca. So in the original the famous movie, Leonard Kinski played Sasha. I'm probably butchering that name.
That's okay.
In 1983, he was replaced by one up and coming, first time out of the gate role, Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
This was his first role in the 1983. Now, Sam. Joe, 1983. Sam.
Yeah.
Who played Sam? One guess.
He played it again.
No. Famous.
I was waiting for like a rib shot there, the live audience to make like just one little joke. Oh,
not happening.
Oh, fuck them. Live audience. I don't know who.
Scatman Crothers.
Oh man.
And then he died. Coincidence?
I don't know. And also I don't know who this guy is, but there actually was a guy for 2 episodes. I'm not joking, guys. His name was Clement von, not a joke, Frankenstein.
Clement von Frankenstein.
F-A-R-A-N-C-K-E-N Steen.
Frankenstein. Yeah.
All right. So where are we going from here, guys?
Before we go, so Ash versus the Evil Dead. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. Out of the 3 of us, I like a lot of the episodes. I actually think it's diminishing returns season by season, and I'm kind of glad it ended.
Me too. And I agree with you. However,
there's some good scenes like his head up a turkey's ass or whatever. And there's some great comedy and sight gags, and it's bloody as hell.
No offense. The scene in season 3 at the sperm donor clinic.
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah. I mean,
and honestly, if it didn't have Bruce Campbell, that show
come out of everywhere.
Yeah. If that show did not have Bruce Campbell,
it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. He carried everybody on that show.
Yeah, a little bit. The Lucy Lawless is a little bit. So that opening, that first one directed by Sam, is almost just like a sequel.
Yeah.
It is, but the problem is there's diminishing returns season after season. Except for the $6 million man, he did not carry.
No, you are correct, sir.
In fact, he was quite hilarious in every scene that he did.
Yes, he was, especially in the ghost portion.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. But it's diminishing returns. I'm glad, and
I will say, and we'll move on again. But the other thing about that show, about Evil Dead, is we're never going to get a futuristic version of Ash. No. Every time we get close, it ends.
Yeah. So if you'd like to, I can name off some really the ones that just blew my mind that they made a show about.
Well, before you do that, can I talk about the most shocking one that I didn't know was a movie turned into a TV show?
As Casablanca.
And well, no, this one actually ran for a long time. It's actually considered good.
What?
I just never knew it was a movie. Mr. Belvedere.
I didn't know Mr. Belvedere was a movie.
Mr. Belvedere goes to college. You didn't know those were movies?
No. The very first.
Same guy?
No. These movies were in the 40s, I think, James. But the very first one. Yeah. The very first one is Sitting Pretty. Mr. Belvedere is a spawn of the movie Sitting Pretty.
So were they also based on books?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
The first Mr. Belvedere I ever saw, because I actually liked the 80s show, but the first one I ever saw was Mr. Belvedere Goes to College. And that was my obsession. Oddly enough, now I teach at a college. Isn't it weird how that works out?
Not really.
I would own Mr. Belvedere.
And James, I got to correct you. Sitting Pretty, the original Belvedere is actually a woman. So it's Lynn Belvedere, played by Clifton Webb.
Now that leads
That's not a woman.
That's not a Webb. Clifton Webb is very much not a woman.
Well, I'm sorry. I was sorry, guys. I was never mind. Sorry. Forget I said that.
So while you're talking about
sir,
that brings up an interesting point I want to bring up. So one of the biggest, and I'm glad we're not doing our favorite 3, because I honestly, I couldn't pick 3.
No, I couldn't either. There's yeah.
I could have.
Yeah. And I could have picked 3 out of my ass, but I just can't.
But it wouldn't be true.
Yeah. In 2 cases it would, but go ahead.
Well, there's a couple I like.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting is there's a couple of these, one in particular that is more memorable than the movie it's from. Mr. Belvedere, I'd actually go ahead and say that's one.
Yeah.
But MASH. Now, I think MASH was a hit. MASH was a big movie. MASH was nominated for Academy Awards. But I bet if you ask people on the street,
they remember the TV show.
They remember the show more than they remember the movie.
I agree with you. And you know what?
Second to that is The Odd Couple.
That's true.
But now I never watched the show. I'm a huge Neil Simon fan. I'm a huge Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon fan. So it's one of my favorite movies. I never watched the show. It just wasn't played in my house.
And see, it wasn't played in my house. I actually had to find it. I actually was watching The Odd Couple, the TV show. I watched that before I did the movie. I loved The Odd. And
Which
The
one
Odd
do you
Couple,
prefer?
Oh, the movie. I do.
Really?
After I saw the movie, I'm sorry. I love Jack Klugman in that role. But Walter Matthau's perfect.
It's almost a perfect comedy.
Yeah, and again, Tony Randall and Jack Klugman are fantastic as those characters, but Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, no. And the fact that Jack Lemmon's suicidal, I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Don't
watch The Odd Couple too. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, don't. It's depressing.
Now, is it anywhere near as good as The Odd Couple with Matthew Perry and Thomas Lennon?
I
never saw that one.
I can't make myself watch it.
You're not. I mean, and by the way, I love Matthew Perry and Thomas Lennon. I really do. I think both of them are talented. Neither one of them should have done that show. Like we deserved more Mr. Sunshine than we ever did. But I like Matthew.
So
Perry.
that to me, back to my point, is fascinating. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and I will say this about the Odd Couple TV show. It is where it's where I first found about the joke about assume.
Ask between you and me.
Yeah, there's a great courtroom scene where Tony Randall's going crazy, and the person he's interrogating, because he's the lawyer in the case, he's like, well, you know what happens when you assume? He pulls out a big chalkboard, and he goes, you make an ass, and circles ass out of you and me. And I woke up everybody in the house laughing so hard. First time I'd ever heard that.
He was 35 years old.
It was last week.
So in reality, I was probably 12 or 13, and I just never heard that joke before. And now it's
the first time I heard it.
It's one of those. But go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
That's why I never say though. I assume. By the way, just FYI, I always say I'm assuming, because it only does something to you and Ming the Merciless, and he deserves it.
What? And James was not in that writer room for that one. No, I find it fascinating because MASH was on 12 seasons. Does that
sounds right? Sounds right.
I mean, he was on like 3 times the length of the actual Korean War.
Right.
Yeah. They had to go back and reinvade Korea to film it.
And the whole thing,
it's really different from the movie too.
Well, here's the thing though. Yes, it is 100% different.
I mean, it's the same setup, characters, whatnot. But
but when the show first came out, it tried a little bit to eerily kind of have the same tone as Robert Altman's MASH, but it quickly just dropped it. Like that pilot episode is very similar to MASH, the MASH the movie.
I have to go back and watch it again.
There's a lot of similarities, but it quickly digressed into, it kind of went towards the sitcom.
Yep.
And then it started going more towards social commentary. So it's amazing how that show,
Alan Alda took over.
Yeah. But yeah. And then, it's just amazing.
It's a show that still holds up.
It does. I still watch MASH, and I still get choked up at episodes. It
still holds up. That was, out of all of these, that was really my one for something that went on and became something even, I don't want to say better, but different and equally as, if not more important to at least the cultural zeitgeist, not to be throwing big words around.
So before we get into the bad, I agree with what you're saying, but there's one other case where the TV show far exceeded the movie.
What is it?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes, I absolutely, totally agree. 100%. It's right here on my list. You're right.
Yeah. So the movie is great.
It's good.
It's good. Sorry. I said great. It's good.
I mean, hold on. I didn't care for it as a kid, and now older, I haven't watched it in a long time. It's okay.
I haven't either. I loved it as a kid. I love Paul Rubens.
Christy Swanson was very nice to me. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I love Paul Rubens in that movie. Rutger Hauer.
Paul Rubens steals the movie.
He does. But then that TV show came out, and it just blew me away. Some of the greatest episodes in television. Mm-hmm. And again, it kind of started out as kind of a eerie, similar to the movie, just slightly darker. And then it just went another direction because of Joss Whedon. I know Joss Whedon has his problems now, but he hated what they did to his character in that movie. So he was able to get it back and turn it into what he wanted it to. And
I have never seen one episode
of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show.
Never have. It's always on my. It's always eventually on my queue to do, but never.
He loves Angel though.
I never see that either.
I love Angel. I do. I love both of them. And there are episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where if you don't cry, you don't have a soul. And that's all.
Doors don't open. There you go, Jeremy Miracle.
There seriously is an episode. There are an episode or two where if you don't break down crying, it's rough. It is, and you cannot do that in that movie. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I do know that the entire thing because it switched networks, right? It was originally on.
Well, the networks combined.
Yeah. But they had ended
and the WB, right?
They had ended with a cliffhanger, right, of her being killed, and then they bring her back, and there's an entire scene where it talks about. She's not necessarily glad she's back, right? She was.
No, it's told in the musical episode. Is where that happens.
Yeah. And I mean, and it becomes this actual point where you're like, well, that's fair, right? I mean, if you're in a better place and somebody brings you back from the dead, screw them, right?
Yeah. She talks about how it was light and wonderful and they pulled me into darkness. And how can I look at them the same again? It's great. It's good, but that's not even, I don't want to go into it because I'd probably start crying talking about it.
I've got a few more.
Go for it. Because I am gnawing at the bit to get to the bad.
Well, yeah, but there's several that have went on for many seasons. And here's another one that I don't know that it eclipsed. No one talks about the show anymore, but it was a big show for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people relate. This is a Mr. Belvedere one. Alice. Alice is an offshoot of Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Yeah.
That's the one. I think that may be the one Scorsese film I have.
Oh, it's got a lovely opening that's so cinematic of her walking like it's the Wizard of Oz. It makes no sense for the rest of the movie, but it's so Scorsese and it's like Tarantino. It doesn't make any sense, but it just works so well in the movie. I hadn't seen it till I was in my 30s, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. But Alice, but I don't know that anybody remembers Alice. They might remember Mel a little bit, like from Mel's Diner, but it's not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want a few more that I think are bigger than the movie?
Go for it.
Alien Nation.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but man. I don't know that anybody remembers either one of them.
I do, because I this is one of those cases of when I was a kid, I loved Alien Nation, the TV show. I didn't know it was a movie.
Yeah, I saw the movie as a kid, but I never watched the show.
I saw the movie years after, and I loved that TV show because I believe the TV show was in syndication, right? It wasn't. No, I
thought it was on Fox. It might have been either one. Check us out there, Hollywood land. You want another one?
Yeah, go for it.
Dead Zone. Dead Zone ran many seasons on USA.
Yeah. I've never seen an episode.
I haven't either, but it ran for a long time
on USA.
I have the movie they did to launch the series,
but I don't know that it's bigger than the movie.
It also stars Nicole DeBoer.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know who that is. So here's another one that's still running.
And you say you watch Star Trek, I tell you.
Well, I probably know if you tell me, I just don't know the name. Fargo. Do you think people remember that Fargo is an offshoot of a movie?
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't think there's an argument about that. Yeah, they do. They have to.
I'm curious. All right. Heat of the Night. Heat of the Night ran a long time.
So this is another prime example of a show I did not know was a movie.
Yep.
Until I grew up. All I knew was Carol O'Connor and oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Who never gets credit.
Well, did he leave? He had to leave the show for a while because he had a little bit of a
Hold on.
Issue.
Stargate ran forever, and then had offshoots of. Yeah,
I have friends who love the Stargate show. I have watched episodes. I'm sorry, but the Kurt Russell, James Spader film still exceeds the TV show, in my opinion. I'm probably one of the few.
No, I never watched the show. I loved the movie, and then I got a little older and watched it and go, oh God. The only thing holding this damn thing together is James Spader and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like
Kurt
it so
Russell
much.
actually gives a really good performance in that movie. Really good performance. That movie's awful. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
They start breaking it down a little bit.
And that's the same reason. That's the same behind Soldier. But I love Soldier.
Well, but that is a great Kurt Russell performance. You're absolutely correct. That movie, but that is one of his best performances, Soldier. Mm-hmm. You want another one?
Go for it.
Yeah, you do. Here's one that I think is hilarious: the Pink Panther.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Whoa! Pink Panther. Oh wait, we're talking about the animated show, right?
It's way bigger. The Pink Panther. And by the way, I love Peter Sellers.
Way bigger 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
No, I think the fact that I can still hold up a pink cat to a lot of people, and they'll say Pink Panther. You hold up a picture.
They go, insulation.
Well, still they recognize. Hold up a picture of Peter Sellers, and say,
I agree. This? I agree. You're right. The kids will know the Pink Panther before they'll know who Peter.
My kids know the Pink Panther. They know the da. Now, and the first time I showed them the Pink Panther, the original with Peter Sellers, they were, they took that music from that. And I'm like, no, this is where it started. Pink Panther was originally just introduced as the way to introduce this movie.
Yep.
I know James. So I know Peter Sellers wasn't around and I wonder if Blake Edwards was when that cartoon got released. I'm like, wait, what are you all doing to my movie?
Peter Sellers should have been around. I think the cartoon was in the late 70s, mid to late 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the cartoon for Pink Panther came out in the early 80s, and he died the same year me and James was born. So
you'd have
look where all the talent went. Jessica Simpson.
Anyway,
let's see. Pink Panther as a cartoon.
While he's looking that up, I'm going to throw something out.
Go for an or.
Here's
1969.
Yeah.
Holy shit! It's that old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you had it came out, and the Pink Panther show included the Ant and the Aardvark, Tijuana Toads, which was renamed Texas Toads, Hoot Kloot, Mr. Jaw, and then of course the Inspector. Roland and Ratfink, the dog father, was added later on because we had to get the Godfather. But yes, it ran for several.
Man, guys, I am sorry. I did not realize.
1969, it jumped in 1976. It went from a half hour to a 90-minute format, which was called the Pink Panther Laugh and a Half Hour.
I just never got Pink Panther.
I didn't realize it was that many.
And then in 1978, the Pink Panther moved to ABC and was rebranded the all-new Pink Panther show. Ran over a decade.
Never knew. And I just never got into that cartoon. Couldn't do it.
So here's a movie that sucks that people remember very fondly, that if they go back and watch, it's just member berries. But I didn't realize that it had a show, and I didn't realize that show ran for 4 seasons. Weird Science.
Weird. I remember the show.
With Vanessa Angel, who's in
no recollection of this whatsoever, guys.
Yeah, all I know is it introduced me to Vanessa Angel, and that's all I remember.
It ran for 4 seasons.
Yeah, I knew it ran for a while because it was kind of popular on. Is it USA? TBS,
yeah, it was on USA. Another USA movie.
And of course, I didn't have cable when it was running, so I just knew Vanessa Angel. And then
same thing would be with Swamp Thing and Highlander.
I would say, yeah. Swamp Thing, I remember the show. Actually, no offense, I know you all love the movie.
Well, no, Highlander was in syndication before it went on to the
yeah. Highlander, though, and Highlander is, again, want to talk about another show that is like, okay, we're going to know our Highlander 2, but we're never going to address the fact it's a sequel technically to the first Highlander, and the first Highlander ends with him having done what?
Becoming the only one.
The only one. They never talk about it. Yeah.
If you ever watch the pilot, it has Connor McLeod is in it, and he because Duncan's his cousin, and they talk. And I'm like, can we acknowledge the fact that you killed everybody?
So I never watched the Highlander show. You were a fan, right? Did you all like it? It ran for a long time.
It was okay. It was literally again
syndication ran
when I was a child. I had 3 channels.
3? No, there's 3 spinoffs of Highlander.
Yeah, there's Highlander, the Raven, and
Highlander, the animated series, which is set. It's what was the name of the character? because it's set in a cyberpunk future, and it's oh crap. The Corton is who he has to fight. It's Connor McLeod sends him out. Quentin McLeod is Highlander in Highlander the animated series. It's set kind of post-apocalyptic, but it was a joint production between France, Canada, and the U.S.
So I mean, the Highlander series ran for a while, though, right?
Yeah,
Adrian Paul at a certain point was probably more popular than that other guy.
Yeah. At one point in time, Chris, honestly, I think he surpassed Christopher Lambert in a lot of ways because of the TV show.
I was just actually trying to make James mad, but
no. I would say at the time, you're probably right. I mean, I think when they did the movie Endgame where they all crossed over, the idea was that Adrian Paul would then carry the movie series, and we see that didn't work out.
No.
But I think during that time, there was at least a brief window where I would say you're right. By the way, there's 6 seasons and 119 episodes.
It was a long time, and Swamp Thing is another one, James and Chad. Mm-hmm. Well, but James, you were mentioning love the movie. Chad and I have both acknowledged that we may have a fondness for the movie, but it's not one of Wes Craven's best.
No.
And that doesn't quite hold up.
Yeah, and the other thing is that's a comic book, and we could have a whole nother episode of comic books that return from comic books to movies to TV shows and vice versa. So I mean that's a whole finicky part altogether.
Especially if we start talking about the animated ones.
Yeah.
Can I do one more that's better than that? Probably is better than it has any right to be.
Sure.
That came out of a movie.
Yep.
I really didn't think I'd feel this way, but I've got to give credit to Cobra Kai.
I've never watched it.
I haven't either.
Oh, Cobra, guys, seriously, it has no right to be good.
But I don't like the Karate Kid.
Then you'll love it because it's actually told from the viewpoint of the other guy.
That's what people tell me. I always say, but I don't even give 2 shits about the Karate Kid.
Well, no,
I'm the exact opposite of Joe. The Karate Kid and Karate Kid Part 2 are staples of my childhood. And I just can't make myself watch this because everybody keeps going, "Oh no, it's so good!" It's from the and I'll eventually watch it. And James, I'm not trying to, but
no. Well, let me put it in perspective. It has no right. Like the first time I watched it, I was over at somebody else's house going, "Oh, you like movies? You got to watch this." And I watched it. I'm like, it's actually better than it should be. And Silas has gotten into it, my son. And let me give you a scene. Okay, Chad, you've watched the other movies. There's a scene where he gets injured, where Daniel gets injured, and Mr. Miyagi does this, and then helps him, right? Let me give you a scene why this show works better than it should. There's a scene where one of the people that is getting trained gets injured, and of course Daniel does pop up. He's a character. He's just not the one you follow in the beginning. And the person he's trying to train is injured. And his arm's out of socket, like it is bad out of socket. And he goes, okay, we can do this. And he starts doing this. And you're like, oh, he's going to do the thing. He's going to do the thing. And then he goes, medic. He doesn't know what to do. And it's all it does do a lot of member berries. Like my son has never seen Karate Kid, has no concept of Karate Kid. I can't get him to watch them. He loves the show though. But for me, like there's a scene where Daniel looks over and you see a car covered, and it's obviously Mr. Miyagi's car. It's a throwaway scene that I was like, oh, it's Mr. Miyagi's car that Daniel has to wax. It's stuff like that works for me, doesn't take anything away from him, but it shouldn't be as good as it is. But quite frankly, I mean, and of course, spoilers, the first season ends with, and it's him coming to terms with the fact he wasn't trained, the villain from Karate Kid coming to terms with the fact that he was trained poorly, that he was pressured by his sensei, and then how does the first season end? His sensei returns, and it shouldn't work.
You're not I swear there's a guy who doesn't even watch any kind of, and he's at work, and he brought it up more than once to me. He goes, you got to watch it. And I go, he goes, I don't give a shit about the Karate Kid. This show's just good. And then he always says the same thing. He goes, I don't know why. It's pretty stupid if I think about it, but I enjoy it.
It's honestly, like I said, I wanted to be like, no, this shouldn't work. But every time I'm like, oh man, okay. And I think it's because, at least in the beginning, you're like, dude, when I was a kid, I hated that guy. Like, I hated the villain. And then you're like, he's not a villain. And his life sucks. And he's trying to do better.
Yeah. And the problem with me is the whole thing about the Karate Kid as a kid is it was Pat Morita. It wasn't Ralph Macchio. It wasn't anybody. It was Pat Morita that made that show movie entertaining. And me and Joe have strong disagreements about movies from our childhood that he says sucks that I still think hold up.
I just wasn't a fan of the Karate. I don't know if it sucks now or not. I haven't seen it.
No,
I just
hold on. I watched Karate Kid in the when I was in my early 20s, and man, does it not hold up to the level that I held it up to when I was a kid. And I'm just like, I'll eventually watch the TV show, but I just can't make myself watch it yet. I haven't gotten into that zone of watching Cobra Kai, but I will eventually.
I'm telling you, it shouldn't be good. It shouldn't be watchable. I should be angry when I watch it in my mind. And I'm like, no, it tells a story, and it's a somewhat compelling story.
All right. You guys want to start talking about the shit?
So yeah, let's go now.
Can I do one mid-grade one that I don't know if it's bad because I never got to see it? I vaguely remember it coming out and going, I want to watch that, and then it was gone. So, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I didn't know it existed.
I didn't know it existed.
I remember it because it was originally done in the UK, but if I remember correctly, it briefly aired. It got picked up by the USA Network or something that aired in the US. But I want to see it now because of the cast it has that went on to do pretty cool stuff.
And if I'm not mistaken, the TV show is just called Lock, Stock.
Lock, Stock, the series, yes.
For Channel 4.
And so the cast was it was a 7-part television crime drama. And the reason it was called, it has nothing really to do with the show even. It was every episode was Lock, Stock, and something was the episode title. The first episode is Lock, Stock, and 4 Stolen Hooves. They run a pub called The Lock, and it's about 4 friends that get into stupid adventures. That being said, it's Ralph Brown played Miami Vice. I mean, but Martin Freeman is a Dutch drug dealer, taker, and idiot. That's how he's introduced. You've got, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing this, but Jamie Lannister, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau is in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a great cast, and Guy Ritchie co-wrote the first episode. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff that should be going for it, but I never got to see it, so I can't comment on it. But now I kind of wish I could. But obviously, it wasn't a massive hit because we only got, even by British standards, we didn't even get a second season eventually. So
yeah, but and I really want to go off on when we talk about the bad ones. I really want to take a minute to talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the series.
Well, I have. Let's just go ahead and start with that one.
Do you know the plot of the TV show?
No.
Okay, so here's the TV show. Oh, guys, you're gonna love this.
I remember watching it. I preferred, and literally, I'll say this right now. Here's what I remember of it. I watched it when it was on, and literally, me and my brother, who never agree on anything, we looked at each other and said, "This would have to stand on a chair to kiss Parker Lewis Can't Lose's butt."
Yeah.
So in this world, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is an actual movie.
Yeah.
The characters in the TV show are who the characters in the movie are based off of.
Why is it so meta?
I don't know. But it had no right to do this.
Uncle Buck didn't do that.
And it starred Jennifer Aniston as in Jennifer Grey's character part. What's his name? Oh my God, I'm blanking. He was one of my favorite actors until he turned out to be a perv.
Who?
Jeffrey
Combs.
He's been
Jeffrey Combs.
I was to say, do not besmirch the name
Jeffrey
of
Jones.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, he's been replaced by Richard Ryle. I'm going to pronounce it. I'm butchering that name. And then Charles Schlatter replaces Matthew Broderick as Ferris Bueller. And then Amy Dolenz, who is Mickey Dolenz' daughter, becomes Sloane.
Yeah.
And I just remember it being terrible.
real quick, because I know somebody's going to get mad at us if we don't mention this. Do we need to go back and acknowledge, because I don't know how it's going to end, but it's been pretty successful, movie to TV series, Westworld.
Yeah, that's another one. There's so many though, because the other one that's huge that no one remembers is based on a show. And I honest to God, it's in bold print here. And why I missed it before we rolled on to this, and I was going to see if I could work in another spot, but this segue will work just fine. Is the Moonrunners, and no one remembers that became the Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
Yep.
And it's based on a TV. It's the same plot. They bought it and did the Dukes of Hazzard, but no one remembers that was a movie.
Is that movie even good? Because I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
Okay.
But I've been trying to find it.
Go back and watch the pilot,
or was.
If you go back and watch the pilot, it's more probably in line with that than it is what Dukes became.
Yeah, and that's one show that I just can't watch today either. It's one of the.
Actually, I don't think you can find it.
Well, yeah, and I just never cared. I tried to
play the movie, but they won't play the show.
Yeah,
which is
because they addressed the racial. Yeah, and they addressed the racial stuff in the movie, so I think that was. But yeah, I watched it when I was in college. I'm just like, why did I like this as a kid? But I guess it was because car jump.
Well,
boom.
yeah, I mean, I liked it as a kid too. I had the trash can in my room. I mean, if you're of a certain age, it's like the
Lunchbox
or anything lunchbox. You know, you're of a certain age. That was the show. I'm sure the kids in my like for our children, I don't know, for my child, PJ Masks, he probably will look back on that later and not so much.
Did you all know The Exorcist became a TV show?
Yeah, for 2 seasons. It's not bad, but I've never got to watch all of it actually.
I didn't know it existed.
It's on Fox.
Yeah, and I didn't know that I just never knew it was a TV show, and I didn't know that it was actually I'm shocked that you all even think it was good, because I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was going to be terrible but I'm glad. So you all actually like some of it, or you?
Well, I've only ever watched some. It's one of those. Put it up there with Buffy. I'm going to go back and watch. It's only on for 2 seasons. I think Gina Davis was in some of it.
Oh, really?
And it was highly rated. But it just never caught on. It was on Fox on Fridays.
Huh. And geez, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was. It's in fact, if you look up reviews, Chad, I think it's fairly well reviewed. It just never caught on. I don't know how it made 2 seasons, but that's okay. I love Hannibal. Yeah. Hannibal, there's another one, and how that made it on 3 seasons on NBC is beyond me. But I loved Hannibal. Hannibal was one of those things that was just too beautiful to exist.
How about speaking of that, and maybe this is a trend. Maybe these prequels that TV series prequels. Because we got Bates Motel as well, and I've never watched enough of it to comment on.
Yep, Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, Star Wars would be a whole nother discussion.
Star Wars is a whole other thing into itself. So,
did you all know Serpico became a TV show?
Yep,
with David Burney as Officer Frank Serpico and Tom Atkins as Lieutenant Tom Sullivan.
So, do you want to get to some of the bad ones or ones?
I thought Serpico was a bad one.
Well, in defense of, why did Baghdad Cafe, an obscure movie, get a TV series with Whoopi Goldberg that lasted 1 season?
Oh man, I have no idea. Other than
I didn't know that one. You've got me. That's one I didn't know.
I didn't either. I think I've seen the movie in the early 90s. You know,
and it had Gene Stapleton and James Gammon of all people in it too.
Right. And it ran a season, but none of you remember. No one remembers the movie.
No.
Here's another one that ran for a little while. I didn't know 9 to 5 had a series.
Yeah. I remember the series.
I watched it as a kid.
Remember that?
It re-aired on, so USA as a network during the day.
All night. Sorry.
Used to run old TV series, just whatever they could get. Like it'd be Facts of Life. And then in the middle of the day,
see, James, you take the good, you take the bad.
Girls.
Anyway, girls.
As they would also wedge in there shows that didn't last too long. So Bosom Buddies, and they'd run all of those, and then they would drop. And 9 to 5 is one they dropped in for a while. But
yeah, I mean, it had a good cast. It had Sally Struthers, Rita Moreno, Valerie Curtin, Edward Winter, Peter Boners. I know it's a funny, but he actually is a talented guy and director. So
if you can get some Peter Boners, you're going to be talented for.
And I think I think it's Bonners. I think I'm butchering his name.
Peter John Bonner. He eventually became a senator.
He directed Joe's favorite Police Academy. Police
You're
Academy
right.
6.
He was a congressman. He wasn't a senator.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway,
did you all know? Well, I'm sure we all knew, but I got to talk about it real quick. So, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures was not only a live TV show; it was an animated series.
Yes.
James, without looking, you didn't know it was a TV show?
No, I knew.
I remember the commercial. Can I?
Because I was waiting on you all to bring up Beetlejuice. Yeah, keep going.
I'm going to. We're gonna let's save the cartoons because I got a cartoon section that we should talk about after that.
Okay.
But here's what I remember about the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventures live action show, because it caused a fight between me and my brother, because the commercial for it actually came out. And
Joe, don't look it up yet because I got a quiz for you.
Said before Wayne and Garth,
James was talking.
Before Wayne and Garth, it named off all these other, two idiot pairs. There was Bill and Ted, and that was the commercial they did to launch this thing, and it aired on Fox. At least that's where I watched it, and I have somewhere, probably in my parents' house, buried somewhere, a VHS of the first episode recorded off Fox. So there you go.
I would love to see it. I need to YouTube it. Joe.
Yeah.
So George Carlin was in the first one playing Rufus.
Oh, in the live action?
In the movie.
Yeah.
Who did they replace George Carlin as Rufus in the TV show?
Please let it be Alec Baldwin. Curse you, Mr. Conductor.
No, hold on. No, I'm thinking.
It's the only
on that one too.
It's the perfect casting ever.
The perfect casting ever. Don Rickles.
Nope.
I've no idea.
Rick Overton.
I don't even know who that is.
You don't know? Oh, look up Rick Overton. You would know who he is if you go, oh, that guy. He wrote some Simpsons episodes, if I'm not mistaken. But Rick Overton, yeah, he's a famous comedian. He's a somewhat recognizable comedian and actor. You would look up Rick Overton and go, oh, it's that guy. He was in Groundhog's Day. He was the other drunk guy with Bill Murray, who wasn't, the guy from The Burbs.
I kind of know him, but no.
The one that goes flapjacks.
I guess.
So yeah, Rick Overton replaced George Carlin as Rufus.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
He's also an eight-legged freaks.
Yes.
He is. Eight-legged freaks.
And Lois and Clark, one of Chad's favorites.
Yeah. Oh God. The only I realize now as an adult, I knew it as a kid. The only reason I liked that show was Terry Hatcher.
Well, and it was a superhero show that was on television.
James, I love you, and I will agree with you on anything. I watched Lois and Clark because Hatcher was in it.
Had nothing to do with the Stoops.
Nope.
Did you watch Desperate Housewives too? This is a safe space, but you can tell us.
No,
actually, I never watched that. I couldn't get no.
I've never seen any of it.
Never one episode.
So it seems like your Terry Hatcher interest died off. I wonder why.
No, it never died off.
Bond kill it.
Nope, I just cannot watch. No, I still hold Terry Hatcher in high regards to this day. So let's talk about another one that it lasted 13 episodes. Delta House.
I want to talk about Delta House.
It's right here.
Delta House is, by the way, there were two other loose spinoffs of Animal House. Mm-hmm. They were very loose spinoffs. The other two, which were even worse failures, were Brothers and Sisters. Because it was about fraternity brothers and sisters and sorority. And Co-Ed Fever. They all came out in 1979.
I wish I could write Co-Ed Fever right now.
If I remember correctly. But do you know anything about Delta House? Because I want to go back and watch these now.
I don't, but I am surprised at who they got and who they replaced.
Okay, so, and this is an interesting point. I want to bring this up because it was written by John Hughes, the TV series, Elias Davis, David Pollock, Michael Tolkien, and Stephen Tolkien. And by the way, Michael Tolkien, you all I know are big fans of because he did the screenplay for Gleaming the Cube.
Oh.
And The Player. And Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, he's an uncredited co-author for.
Yeah.
The 2004 one. So anyway, the opening theme was called Delta House, and it was performed by Michael Simmons. But to your point,
thank
Chad,
you, James.
Yeah, I don't know who Michael Simmons is.
Well, it was written. The theme song was written by somebody you probably do know who died very, very recently. James Richard Steinman, also known as Jim Steinman.
Jim Steinman
wrote the theme song.
I didn't know he died.
Oh yeah, he died actually.
Chad, do you know who that is?
April 19th.
Sorry,
Jim Steinman wrote "Bad Out of Hell." He wrote
okay.
all those Meatloaf songs, "Bad Out of Hell" too, and all that. That's the reason he's famous.
Gotcha.
I wasn't trying to be a dick. I just saw it and I was like, I don't know that he knows who Jim Steinman is.
No, I don't.
That would be more up my alley.
So Jim Steinman wrote the theme song for Delta House.
And it was like the next time you have to explain to me why there's, Janos or what's his Thanos is knuckle deep with some rings and something. Yeah.
It was executive produced by Ivan Reitman and Maddie Simmons.
Maddie Simmons is from from the actual almost a National Enquirer, National Lampoon. So can I throw another one?
Well, hold on. Let's talk about. I want to talk about Delta House one more second. So, because James didn't mention that, I don't know why he went into that. He didn't mention.
No. I want to talk more about it. So go ahead. You do what you want to do because I want to.
So they got the highlights of Animal House. All the characters. They got John Vernon to come back as Dean Vernon and Stephen First to come back as Flounder, and Bruce McGill to come back as D-Day, and Jim Widows as Robert Hoover, and that's it.
Actually. Well, you're somewhat wrong.
What?
Priscilla Loris came back. Dean Wormer's secretary. And she actually got a name instead of just secretary. Her name was revealed to be Miss Leonard.
Now I'm assuming we get the brother of Bluto of
It's Blotto. It's
Blotto, and it is replaced. He has been cast. Josh Mostel has replaced
Zero's son.
But you also, man, Joe, if you looked him up, you would know who he is. The only role that I could come up with is he was in Billy Madison as the principal, who was a former wrestler.
I don't remember.
And he hugged kids way too long. Michelle Pfeiffer was in the Animal
Yeah,
House,
she was in every episode but the pilot. She's not in the pilot. She's in every other episode.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny. They brought 4 minor characters from the movie and put it in a TV show and then recast and then added a whole bunch of new extras. It didn't last long, 13 episodes.
Right.
But it does have some one-liners that would have fit in somewhat in Animal House. There is an episode where Blotto receives a letter from his brother, Bluto. The backstory, how they explain Bluto not being there, is he got drafted, and that's going to set him up eventually to become a senator. That it fills in that backstory about how did he go from a drunk to being respectable enough to get elected. He's drafted and becomes a good soldier. That being said, he gets the letter and they just show him reading it and they say, who's that from? He goes, it's from my brother Bluto. And one of the other brothers says, I didn't know Bluto could write. And the other one said, I didn't know Blotto could read. So it's got some of those throwaway lines that Animal House did have.
Can we talk about Josh Mostel?
Yeah.
I would have known him for City Slickers. He's one of the guys that owns the ice cream.
Okay.
That's where I would have known him. But oddly enough, if you Google image him, several of his pictures are not him. They're Wayne Knight.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
So Google image it. And if you don't know who Wayne Knight is, just Google that too.
Yeah, Newman.
Real quick, Joe, you as somebody that likes meatloaf, you might find this interesting. So the theme song,
I'm a fan of the music and the delicious dinner entree.
Well, here's how you would know if you heard the Delta House theme. Here's what you might know. So the theme song was written by Steinman, as I said, to lyrics written by Lampoon. However, Steinman maintained the rights to the melody and reused it for the song Dead Ringer for Love, made famous by Meatloaf and Cher from the album Dead Ringer. And he reused some of the lyrics into the song Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, which was used in the movie Streets of Fire. oddly enough,
I won a trivia contest with Streets of Fire 2 years ago in our office.
How did Steinman end up getting involved? We're not sure, but at one point,
directed by Walter Hill,
before they cast Zero Mostel's son as Blotto, they considered casting Meatloaf to replace John Belushi as Bluto.
There you go.
Small world. There you go. Have fun with it.
Joe, Jane, what other ones do you want to talk about? Because I have a few more about, I feel like.
Well, there's a few I want to roll off that I didn't even know existed, and some of these only ran a few episodes. Like Blue Thunder only ran a few episodes, and one of the critiques of it was that they kept using stock footage from the movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Another one is Down and Out in Beverly Hills. I had no idea that they actually did a short-lived series from that.
Who was in that?
I don't know.
I didn't know.
There's so many shit here, Chad, that I was sitting there going, I can't name all the names of all these people. Here's another one. There is a Goldie Hawn Chevy Chase film that a lot of people remember fondly.
Time out.
Yeah. What?
Down and Out in Beverly Hills, the TV show. Let's just Tim Thomerson and Hector Elizondo.
Oh, Hector. Freebie and the Bean wasn't enough for you, sir.
In Casablanca, he had to go. Man, he is a working stiff. Let me tell. Oh, he apparently played the Richard Dreyfuss character, and Tim Thomerson was Nick Nolte.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah. Okay.
Odd bit of trivia. Do you know what Tim Thomerson, one of his favorite, him and David Letterman are good friends.
There's somebody else who's really good friends with Tim Thomerson, and I'm blanking, but yeah, Tim Thomerson.
They were all at the Comedy Store at the same time. And Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, so does anybody remember the 70s classic Foul Play?
With Chevy Chase?
And Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Now,
if you're going to make a series, I would have done it out of Seems Like Old Times, my favorite Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn film. But no. Which also had the late, great Charles Grodin. Who's in Foul Play, Chad?
Silence. Chevy Chase is replaced with Barry Bostwick.
Oh, there you go.
And
Barry.
Yeah, and Deborah Raffin replaced Goldie Hawn.
No idea.
Go ahead, Joe. Corey Feldman was in an episode.
Uncle Buck, they did it twice. I knew about the first one, but I didn't know about the second one.
Kevin Meaney played him in the first one.
Oh man, yeah, and there's a whole thing about Kevin Meaney being cast as him and how bad it was.
But did you all know that there was a second one?
No, a few years ago, right?
A few years ago with the African American actor. I can't think of his name. All right, we got silence. That's okay.
No. Can I mention one that I honestly?
No, I'm done. That was
good because
I just found out this existed, and I want you all to tell me why I didn't know about it.
Oh, Mike Epps, Joe.
Mike Epps. I couldn't remember his name.
This is a show that originally got ordered for 13 episodes, and then they said, no, cut those last 3. We ain't doing this. And I don't know. I don't even remember it. I don't remember seeing it at all. So Minority Report, the film, came out in 2002. And then in 2015, they tried to do a TV series.
Now, that had Carl Urban in it, right?
So the cast listed is Stark Sands, Megan Good, Nick Zano, Daniel London, Laura Regan, Lee Jun Lee, and Wilmer Valderrama, who I know from that 70s show.
Yeah. Now, what science fiction show was Carl Urban on that was on main that was on one of the main networks? Does anybody remember that a few years ago? It only lasted a season or 2. Doesn't matter.
Steven Spielberg executive produced this, and it was written. Not most. There was only 10 episodes. 4 of the episodes were written or co-written by Max Borenstein. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, Alex's.
He wrote the 2014 Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, and he contributed to the story of Godzilla King of Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
But obviously did not do so well with his.
Here's one I want to, the last thing I want to mention about a boy. I didn't know there was a series for that too. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But Robocop.
Yes.
So many, like the prime director,
4
Canadian
different series.
Yeah. And I never watched any of them.
I tried watching the TV show.
How was it?
It was terrible. I couldn't get into it. And this is teenage me who longed for any kind of content because, again, I had 3 channels. I didn't have cable. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
It was an abomination, to put it in slight.
Worse than RoboCop 3?
Worse than RoboCop 3. Yeah.
No, that's my idea for our next episode. I'll just bring it up here because I wanted to talk about it. I want to talk about the sequels that people shit on that they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
RoboCop 2.
Yep. Gremlins 2.
It's better than what people remember.
Did you all know Fast Times at Ridgemont High had a brief series in 1986 that lasted 7 episodes?
Seen it, but
you know what else lasted 7 episodes that actually
Star Trek
should do? No, that made a little bit more than 7. We had a series that was based on the man that won't, leave you hanging high and dry, and it starred most of the same cast. Shaft.
Yeah.
Shaft. They did a series of 7 episodes that starred Richard Roundtree as Shaft.
Yeah.
And because it aired on TV, they felt the narrative had to be toned down. Now, instead of opposing the police, Shaft actually worked with them, creating conflicts with Hawkins, another police series with a starkly different viewership. But there you go. I actually remember my introduction to Shaft was this TV series. My dad watched it. It had to obviously it was re-airing. I wasn't born in 1973, but it only ran 7 episodes.
Actually, you're 76 years old and you're a time traveler.
But back to Fast Times, I want to talk about this real quick because so they brought Ray Walston signed on to reprise his character,
Mr. Hand.
Joe.
Yeah.
Jeff Spicoli.
Yeah.
Who replaced Sean Penn? I'm going to give you, think of every cliche 80s teen movie rebel. He
Matt
played
Dillon.
several. Dean Cameron.
Oh, yeah. He's turned me down to do Bonehead. Well, by turn me down, he won't return my advances.
And Damone, Patrick Dempsey.
They would both go on to have a little bit of a career.
And
Patrick Dempsey.
And Courtney Thorne Smith would get cast as Stacey Hamilton.
Thorne
Smith. Yeah, we both did it. So let's. I'm gonna save my last one. I want to go into cartoons.
Well, can I mention one more live action one?
No,
go for it.
I'll because it's important to me, and screw you people. It is better than it should be. It was actually originally made to be educational, at least somewhat, but also entertaining. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah,
I mean, the quality of production on those for a TV series is phenomenally high.
I've never watched them.
Obviously they would look dated now because they were the best TV series that you could make at the time, which was quite some time ago.
They're on Paramount Plus, right? So I started watching like 5 minutes with the narration of the first episode the other day, and I just couldn't. I don't know. I just turned it off.
Well, and they've edited it because originally Harrison Ford cameoed in the first one, and they've taken that part out because they don't want to blah blah blah. But
really?
Yeah.
They don't want to get sued.
No, they cut it out because they want the character to still be open ended. Because the way and I remember this vividly, the way the first one started was 2 kids are about ready to, they're in a museum and either they're making fun of something or they're getting ready to steal something. That I don't remember. But this old man with one eye and an eye patch literally comes limping up behind them and says, if you touch it, you'll never know what I went through to get it here for you to see it. It's Harrison Ford in old age makeup playing a half-blinded Indiana Jones, and he's scarred up and everything. And they cut that because obviously, well, they want to keep making those movies, and Harrison Ford in his old age makeup. And the first episode started in the early 80s. So the idea was that he's still alive, he's still all that, and they cut that because they don't want to mess with the timeline. But there you go.
So
find it online.
On the cartoon side, and there are plenty of cartoons. We're not going to cover all of them because there's just so many cartoons that were based on movies. The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, all of Jim Carrey's properties have been turned into cartoons. But what I wanted to talk about briefly was the movies that how the hell could you turn that into a cartoon? Joe mentioned Robocop. Yeah, there is a giant robot cop man, prime cartoon material, but the movie itself has no cartoonish content. It's gore, it's violent. You can't turn it, but they tried, they failed miserably. The second one, Beetlejuice. We've talked about it before, but yeah, Beetlejuice is, if we made a top 3 list of best adaptations, this would be my number 1. I still love the Beetlejuice cartoon. It still holds up. However, they took a movie about a dead man trying to molest a teenage girl and made them buddies and put them into a cartoon.
Yeah, I think people forget about that. By the way, I found a bit of trivia today when I was going down a deep dive dark hole. I was going down your dark hole today, Chad. And I didn't know this, and I feel like why didn't I know this? Do you know who one of the directors was going to be before Tim Burton?
No.
And he got fired 3 months in on pre-production?
No.
Wes Craven.
Ugh.
That's the reason he ended up doing he says Deadly Friend, which came out in 86, sucks so bad. And I listened to the interviews. It's true. There was multiple reasons. Like he found out his marriage was a shambles or a sham, which I have no idea what all that meant, but he did fall apart. They took this part of the movie from him and he got fired from Beetlejuice.
I am shocked. I thought that was like, and I haven't looked at the special, and this is one of those ones where we talk about special edition stuff. I haven't looked at my special edition Blu-ray.
Well, I don't think there's ever been, even the one you've got, I don't think is loaded with special features.
Maybe. But yeah, I thought that was Tim Burton's
like
baby.
Scrooge. We've never really got a truly good loaded Scrooged.
No, and we sadly won't now.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, no. So how long was that laying around the development?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's crazy because I thought that was Tim Burton's baby.
It came out in 88.
Wow. So, but back on the cartoons, this is by far the shocker of everything. It beats out Robocop. It beats out Beetlejuice. They produced a 65 episode run on Rambo
and the Freedom Fighters, right?
I think that was the key. Yeah. The thing off of it. Yeah. 65 episodes off a PTSD war vet who goes ballistic on a small town.
Sorry, let me correct myself. It was Rambo and the Forces of Freedom.
Sorry. Yeah.
But they made all kinds of those, right?
They did. Police Academy, the series, which I own and I love.
Problem Child
series is good. That
you wouldn't like it, Joe. I find it hilarious.
Problem Child was an animated series.
Yes.
Problem Child makes more sense to me than Rambo.
There was a live action Planet of the Apes series. There was a live action, but people forget there was also a Return to the Planet of the Apes animated series that is set before, even though it's called Return, it's set before the humans arrive.
And there was even a James Bond cartoon where he is a kid.
Bond Jr. It's actually supposed to be his nephew.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's actually a sequel. It's set after the last.
Did there, Chad? You walked into a whole pile of shit.
Yep.
We got Mummy the animated,
covered in all that James Bond shit.
We've got Mummy the animated series that takes place after the Mummy returns, but before Mummy Tomb of the Emperor Dragon.
And James still hasn't listed one of my other favorites.
I have no idea.
Men in Black the series?
Nope. Even though that's excellent, that is excellent.
Does it start with a T and it's being remade?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Toxic Avenger.
No. Oh man, still. That was the Toxic Crusaders, but that is on my list. But again, the Toxic Crusader, foul movie turned into a cartoon show for kids.
How about Friday, the animated series?
Was that animated? I saw Friday and I didn't bother to look it up.
Yeah, it's animated.
I'd like to talk about Tales from the Crypt Keeper. We've talked about that one before.
Yeah, that one's really good.
How about Clerks, the animated series?
So that was on the list, and I dropped it because I didn't really enjoy it.
I didn't enjoy it either.
That pilot's hard to get through. I don't give a shit who you are, how big of a fan you are.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I just watched Zack and Mira make a porno, and it's still amazing. That cartoon show is unwatchable.
It's pretty bad. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Yeah.
I've got it right. It's right over here if you want to borrow it, James.
Nope. And James still hasn't mentioned it. Go ahead, James.
You're still got shit all over you from you. Can't believe you didn't know that was James Bond.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Indignant.
Watch me make everybody
James
angry.
is filled with men.
I know the show you're talking about. It's based on your all-time favorite film, the film that you tell me all the time, though you won't tell Joe, the film you think is better than Ghostbusters. I'm of course talking about the continuation of the film Evolution, called Alienators. Evolution Continues. The anime.
I did not know that would exist.
They made that.
How about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Chad?
There it is.
I know.
There you go.
There it is. That is one of my favorite cartoons from a kid. I can't. They have not released it on DVD. I have to watch it on YouTube.
Will Wilbur get rid of that dumb parachute? The question still lingers.
And John Astin is still in it. I mean, it's great. The cartoon is amazing, and it far surpasses the horrible movies that I've watched both of.
By the way, and there's also other things like, I mean, there was a Smokey and the Bandit TV series.
No,
that was the action pack.
Yeah.
There was 4 movies.
Yeah.
The first one was directed by Hal Needham.
Yeah.
And it's Brian Bloom. Yeah, Brian Bloom replaced Burt Reynolds. That leads me into something, because that's what I was gonna wrap on for my portion.
Good. We've been an hour.
Is Smokey and the Bandit made 4 different made TV movies in 1994 alone. Hold on real quick as I click on this. There was Bandit Goes Country. And it says Bandit: Bandit Goes Country. The follow-up, Bandit: Bandit.
I don't know.
Beauty and the Bandit, and Bandit Silver Angel.
I didn't know Hal Needham only directed one. Actually,
he might have directed all of them, Joe. I just saw the first one. No, he directed the second one. He directed the third one. And let's just say, for shits and giggles, he directed the fourth one.
Yeah.
He also wrote all of them.
I watched it, and I remember when it came out because it's part of the action pack. And that's where we got Hercules. It's the same damn thing. It was all in syndication. Do you guys know? I remember
that wasn't Tech War was one of those.
Tech War was another one too. And then it ended up becoming a series, a short lived
over at USA.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad played Bascom.
Now, did you all know, coming soon, we are getting another Smokey and the Bandit TV show?
No. Why?
Listen to this, though. I don't
know, but can I write an episode and called Smoke 'em If You Got 'em? I think I can do it. I got an idea. Call me, Hollywood. I do. I have an idea. I can do that.
I don't have a casting as to who's playing the snowman, or who's playing the bandit, or who's playing, Jackie Gleason's character. David Gordon Green and frequent collaborator Brian Sides are reteaming to co-write a new take. Fellow cohorts Danny McBride, Jody Hill, and Brandon James of Rough House Pictures will also executive produce, alongside Seth MacFarlane, Erica Tuggins, and their Fuzzy Door banner. Green will direct the potential pilot. That has some clout to it.
It
has some clout, but I don't.
Smoking the Bandit so much of its time. The first movie. I mean, can I bring up one that I struggle with?
I'm sorry, guys. But real quick, James, I don't mean to keep stepping on you, but if Danny McBride takes over the Bandit, I will be happy.
Why? See, I'd rather see him as a sheriff.
Oh yeah, I would too.
I don't know, him trying to try to play some kind of version of Burt Reynolds, but be bad at it.
The funny thing about I didn't think Eastbound and Down or whatever it is, what is it?
Eastbound and Down, yeah.
Is that this show? I didn't find that funny, but I thought Vice Principals was hilarious.
I still haven't watched Vice Principals. I need to get into it.
I wish they would have made that, and I know they did it only as a tourism commercial. I wish they would have done the movie where he was the son of Paul Hogan or of Crocodile Dundee. I would have watched.
Oh God, I would have loved that.
Yeah,
that would have been great. I would have watched that. Can I bring up one that I struggled with?
Can I finish?
Can I finish?
Can we finish?
You can talk all you want because I'm done.
I'm done too.
So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a comic book that got made into a cartoon.
Yeah,
but then it became a movie. And this is the one version of Ninja Turtles. My son was really big into Ninja Turtles.
Oh my God! I hope you're not going to bring up what I think you're going to bring up.
So,
go ahead.
At the end of the live action films,
yes,
they did 2 live action films, or a live action film, 2 sequels. After Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time, they did a series that continued that show.
Oh yeah, Pete's doing it.
Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. Now, my son loved every Ninja Turtle I showed him till we got to this, and I didn't remember it.
It is terrible.
On Netflix, and it introduces the first female turtle.
Mona
and that's
Lisa.
not why it's terrible. The reason it's terrible is that it's trying to be Power Rangers.
Yep.
Like, that's what it became. It was, Power Rangers is big. What do we have? Oh, we have Ninja Turtles. They just finished a film. Like, the costumes aren't good. It's very much, how can we make this like Power? And my son literally was like, this isn't good. Like, I mean, he loved the cartoon. We own all of them on DVD because we bought them all as we went because he loved them so much. We own all the movies. And then that was on Netflix at the time. And he literally, I think we watched like 4 or 5 episodes. And because he kept going, well, maybe it's better. No, it was not better, as it turns out.
There's one last big one that I'm surprised neither one of you talked about with animation.
What?
Ghostbusters.
Ooh, shit.
I wasn't touching it because I figured you all would, because there's Ghostbusters.
I thought Chad to talk about it.
Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters.
Now, guys, my kid kind of likes Extreme Ghostbusters.
I couldn't get into it,
and I've watched it. It's not great, but it is pretty dark.
Yeah, no, it's dark. But no, I can't believe, guys, I didn't put it. I can't believe when I was putting together my list that didn't get put on there. I don't know why.
That's pretty good.
It's amazing. In a lot of ways, it surpasses the movie. But I mean, no, don't get me wrong. The movie's great. In some elements, it does.
There's certain story points I like the one where they go to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And that plays out really well.
But by the way,
Miss Habersham's Attic, I think, is the name of the episode. That's a perfect episode.
Is that where they go to the house?
Yeah, and Peter connects to the old woman, and it's a great episode. I
haven't seen that one. I need to go back.
Yeah, but it's great. No, there are
birthday party over and over.
And I could sit here and list off, as you all know, I can list the real Ghostbusters animated episodes that are amazing. I won't do that, but you're right. It is a great spinoff. It's one of those characters, and I'm still kicking myself in the ass that I didn't have it on my list.
Well, I did it in the smart way of it's the characters, but it isn't.
Yes.
I was going to say, and there's a couple things that do that, and maybe that's how I can close out, because I know some people love it, and I enjoyed it, but it's really hard because you had the movies going on in the background, and it continues on, and you end up with this alternate history, so to speak, much like Ghostbusters, the animated series did. Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people love that show, and I enjoyed it, but there's also the ones that just don't work. And I'm going to pick out, I know some people love this show that I know, and I may hear about it, but that's fine.
They don't listen.
The Taken TV series.
There's a Taken TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be a prequel, but it's set modern day. You can't have it both ways.
Men in Black had a successful cartoon series.
Yep. And actually, I'm going to give, and I know neither one of you all are big fans of the movies. Tron Uprising for the Disney Channel. Elijah Wood did voice work on it.
Yeah.
And it bridges the gap to find out how we went from Tron, the rough and tumble Tron I grew up with the very sleek Tron Legacy. And it was a TV limited series they did. whether because it was canceled or not. But it was live action and animated together. Tron Uprising. So it's another one that was done as a series that actually did fill in some gaps. So,
okay.
But yeah. So I mean, guys, most of them suck.
Anything else to wrap it up?
You want to talk about your love of? Actually, we should say, and I will say, the one franchise that seems to have done it well, seems to have went from a movie series to a television series. I have to give credit to Star Wars.
Yeah,
they're not all my cup of tea, but I mean that Star Wars droids theme song slaps. They're in trouble again.
I tried showing it. I couldn't. I tried watching it. They dropped it the other day, and I tried watching it with him, and we both, about 15 minutes into it, I made him do it. I said, you got to try it out. And then 15 minutes into it, I said, this sucks, buddy. He goes, yeah, it's not good. We just turned it off.
Hey,
he liked the Ewoks one, but he didn't care for the...
In the early 80s, it was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I know I watched it on Saturday morning because it was all... Unlike you guys now with all of your streaming, that was the only Star Wars little Joe could get.
Yeah. But I was about to say, but even though I don't love all of them, like I mean, I watch the Clone Wars, my son watches it, I enjoy it. It does a great job of world building, but I would 10 times prefer to watch Rebels over again. Yeah. But that being said, all of them work. Even the ones that are no longer canon, they work. They give you that feeling. And so I have to give credit. Star Wars went from being, really 3 movies originally to building out these entire series. And, I'm behind on the Bad Batch, but we'll catch up. I'm behind on Loki too, though.
All right, guys. This has been Bone. Anybody got anything else? We good?
Starman.
I think we're good.
Look up Starman, kids.
Yeah, this has been Bonehead Weekly.